The massive alien fleet hung in Earth's orbit like a dark cloud blocking the sun. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking down at the blue planet with satisfaction. His species, the Dominion, had conquered 1,000 worlds. Across the galaxy, Earth would be number 1001. Such a primitive world, Vex said to his second-in-command, Officer Krill. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They still use chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. How amusing. The Dominion had been watching Earth for decades. They knew everything about humans, their wars, their weaknesses, their divided nations. What they saw was a species that fought among themselves constantly. Surely such a chaotic race would fall easily before the might of the Dominion Empire. Send the message, Vex commanded. The transmission reached every device on Earth simultaneously. Vex's translated voice boomed across the planet. People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Galactic Dominion. Surrender peacefully, and you will. Be treated as valued servants. Resist and face complete destruction. You have one Earth rotation to decide. In the United Nations headquarters in New York, world leaders gathered in emergency session. President Walker of the United States looked around the room at his counterparts from Russia, China, Europe, and every other nation. For the first time in human history, they all shared the same thought. Ladies and gentlemen, Walker said quietly, I think it's time we showed them what humans are really made of. The Russian president nodded. For once, we all have the same enemy. Within hours, something unprecedented happened. Every military force on Earth began working together. Scientists from competing nations shared their most guarded secrets. Factories that once built consumer goods switched to military production. The entire human race united with a single purpose. Meanwhile, on the Dominion ship, Vex watched the activity below with amusement. Look at them scrambling like insects, he laughed. They think their primitive weapons can harm us. Officer Krill studied the data streams. Commander, their military forces are mobilizing globally, but their weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Of course not, Vex replied confidently. We have conquered species far more advanced than these humans. Their nuclear missiles are toys, compared to our plasma cannons. But as Krill continued monitoring Earth's response, something puzzled him. The humans weren't just preparing their existing weapons. They were building something new. Every nation was contributing resources to mysterious projects. Construction sites appeared in deserts, mountains, and even underwater. The humans worked with an intensity the Dominion had never seen in a conquered species. Commander, Krill said with concern, their activity levels are unusual. They're not behaving like other species we've conquered. Vex dismissed his worry. They're panicking. It's natural. Tomorrow, when our ground forces land, they'll see the futility of resistance. That night, as Earth's rotation neared its end, a teenage girl named Amy sat with her grandfather, a retired engineer. Grandpa, are we going to be okay? She asked. The old man smiled and looked up at the alien ships visible in the night sky. You know what makes humans special, Amy? We're stubborn. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We've split the atom and walked on the moon. And we did it all while fighting each other. Imagine what we can do when we work together. Across the globe, similar conversations happened. Parents comforted children. Soldiers prepared for battle. Scientists worked through the night. Engineers built weapons based on theories that had never been tested. Everyone contributed something, whether it was manufacturing ammunition, providing food to workers, or simply refusing to show fear. The Dominion had made a critical error in their assessment of humanity. They saw the surface, the conflicts, the divisions, the technological limitations, but they failed to understand the human spirit. They didn't recognize humanity's greatest strength, the ability to unite against a common threat and innovate under pressure. as dawn approached. Vex prepared his invasion force. Thousands of dropships, loaded with alien soldiers, waited for the order to descend. The commander was certain of victory. After all, in their 1,000 conquests, the Dominion had never lost. He was about to learn why humans were different. Asterisk first. Contact the 24 hours were up. Commander Vex stood ready to begin the invasion when something unexpected happened. Instead of surrender, Earth sent a single message back to the Dominion fleet. No, just one word, simple, defiant, human Vexes. 4 eyes blinked in surprise. No conquered species had ever responded with such directness. Usually there were negotiations, pleas for mercy, or attempts at bargaining, but humans simply said no. Launch the ground invasion, Vex ordered, his pride stung by the rejection. Show them the price of defiance. Thousands of dropships descended. Through Earth's atmosphere, their hulls glowing red from the friction. They headed for major cities: New York, London, Moscow, Beijing, Tokyo. The Dominion soldiers inside were elite warriors, each one capable of defeating dozens of enemies with their advanced armor and plasma weapons. The first dropship landed in Central Park, New York. The alien soldiers emerged, expecting to face terrified civilians and scattered military resistance. Instead, they found the park empty. The streets were deserted. It was as if the entire city had vanished. Captain Tor, leading the ground unit, activated his scanner. "Where are the humans?" he asked through his communicator dot before anyone could. Answer: the ground beneath them exploded. The humans had turned the entire park into a trap, filling underground tunnels with explosives. But these weren't ordinary explosives. The humans had somehow combined their chemical knowledge with electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the aliens' shields. From hidden positions in buildings, human soldiers opened fire, not with regular bullets, but with new ammunition designed overnight by studying the fragments of Dominion technology. The aliens' armor, thought to be impenetrable, began showing cracks in Moscow. The story was different, but equally surprising. As dropships landed in Red Square, they were met by a wall of sound. The Russians had weaponized sonic waves, having discovered through intercepted alien communications that the Dominion's hearing was far more sensitive than humans. The aliens stumbled, disoriented, as Russian forces moved in with specially modified weapons. But the biggest surprise came in Tokyo. The dropships there never even reached the ground. Japanese scientists had spent the night analyzing the aliens' propulsion systems and found a frequency that interfered with their engines. Anti-aircraft guns fired shells that emitted this frequency, causing the dropships to crash before landing. Back on the command ship, Vex watched in disbelief as his forces encountered resistance unlike anything in Dominion history. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their technology is primitive." Officer Krill was studying the data frantically. "Commander, they're not using their old technology. They're innovating in real time. Every attack we make, they adapt to it immediately." This was the second thing the Dominion had failed to understand about humans: their incredible ability to learn and adapt under pressure. What took other species generations to develop, humans could figure out in hours when their survival was at stake. General Thompson, coordinating Earth's defense from a bunker beneath the Pentagon, watched the alien forces struggling. "Phase 1 is working," he told his international colleagues through secure communication. "They're confused and off balance. Initialize Phase 2. Phase 2 was humanity's real surprise. While the aliens were distracted by ground combat, human forces launched their counterattack. But they didn't aim for the dropships or ground forces. They aimed for space rockets launched from hidden sites around the world. The Dominion detected them immediately and prepared to shoot them down easily. But the rockets didn't target the alien fleet. Instead, they exploded in a carefully calculated, pattern around Earth, releasing a cloud of microscopic particles. "What are they doing?" Vex asked, watching the seemingly harmless cloud spread. He got his answer moments later. The particles were smart dust billions of tiny computers that attached themselves to the Dominion ships' hulls. Within minutes, they began transmitting data back to Earth. Humanity now had detailed scans of the alien technology. But more importantly, the smart dust did something else. It found the frequency the alien shields operated on and began broadcasting interference. Slowly but surely, the impenetrable shields of the Dominion fleet began to flicker. On Earth, a team of hackers led by a young programmer named Tom worked. Furiously, "I've got it," Tom shouted. Their computer systems used quantum entanglement for communication, but they never encrypted the base level. "We can send them a virus." It was absurd. A species that had just barely started exploring quantum. Computing was attempting to hack an advanced alien civilization. But humans had always been good at doing the impossible. The virus, disguised as a routine status update, spread through the Dominion fleet. It didn't destroy their systems. That would have been too obvious. Instead, it did something subtle. It slightly miscalibrated their targeting systems and delayed their reaction times by fractions of a second. Fractions of a second that humans could exploit. Asterisk. The Turning Tide Commander Vex realized too late that he had severely underestimated humanity. As his shields flickered and his weapons responded sluggishly, he watched Earth's true counterattack begin. From underground silos that the Dominion's scans had somehow missed, hundreds of new missiles launched. But these weren't the nuclear weapons the aliens expected. Humanity had done something unprecedented. They had reverse-engineered alien technology in less than 24 hours and combined it with their own. The missiles were tipped with warheads that used the aliens' own plasma technology against them, modified with human creativity. When the first missile struck a Dominion cruiser, it didn't just damage it, it turned the ship's own power source into a bomb. Impossible! Vex shouted as he watched one of his vessels explode from the inside. Out. They've had our technology for less than a day. Officer Krill's voice shook with fear. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's surface. They're not just using our technology, they're improving it." This was humanity's third great strength, innovation under pressure. Given time to study and prepare, humans were dangerous. But when cornered with extinction looming, they became something else entirely. They became creative in ways that defied logic. In laboratories around the world, scientists had worked through the night, performing experiments that should have taken years. They shared data instantly, building on each other's discoveries. A physicist in India solved an equation that a chemist in Brazil needed, who created a compound that an engineer in Canada could use to build a weapon. The space battle intensified. Human pilots flew modified jets that shouldn't have been able to reach space, but somehow did. They had attached alien propulsion units to human aircraft, creating hybrid fighters that confused Dominion targeting systems. The computer expected either human or Dominion signatures. Not both. Captain Maria Rodriguez led the first squadron of these hybrid fighters. She had been a test pilot before the invasion, used to flying experimental aircraft. Now she was dogfighting. In space, something no human had done before. "Remember," she told her squadron, "they expect us to fight like them. So we don't." The human pilots used tactics that made no sense to the orderly Dominion military mind. They flew in seemingly random patterns. They used Earth's gravity to slingshot around for surprise attacks. They even used debris from destroyed ships as weapons, something the Dominion considered primitive, but proved highly effective. On the ground, the invasion force was in full retreat. Humans had turned their cities into death traps. In London, the aliens found themselves lost in a maze of underground tunnels that had been modified overnight into a defensive network. In Beijing, they faced ancient warfare tactics combined with modern weapons, something their training had never prepared them for. But the real shock came when the Dominion tried to call for reinforcements. The quantum communicator that connected them to their empire thousands of light years away wasn't working properly. The human virus had done more than they realized. It had subtly corrupted their long-range communications, sending false reports back to the Dominion homeworld that everything was proceeding as planned. Humanity had effectively isolated the invasion. Fleet. General Walker watched from the command center as the tide turned. They thought we were divided, he said to his international colleagues. They thought our conflicts made us weak. They didn't realize we've been practicing war for our entire history. Against each other, yes, but that just meant we got really good at it. The Chinese general nodded. And now, for the first time, all that military experience is pointed in the same direction. As the Earth's forces pressed their advantage, something remarkable happened among the civilian population. Instead of panic, there was determination. Factories that had converted to weapon production worked around the clock. Children collected scrap metal. Elderly people who remembered previous wars shared their knowledge. Everyone contributed. In a small town in Kansas, a group of farmers had even captured a crashed alien scout ship. Instead of waiting for the military, they took it apart themselves, sending pictures of the components to anyone who might find them useful. One of those pictures, showing the alien fuel system, gave scientists the key to understanding their power generation. Commander Vex watched, his tactical display in horror. Half his ground forces were eliminated or captured. A third of his fleet was damaged or destroyed. And the humans kept coming up with new weapons, new tactics, new surprises. Order the retreat, he said, the words bitter in his mouth. The Dominion had never retreated before, but as his ships tried to leave Earth's orbit, they discovered humanity's final surprise of this phase. The smart dust that had attached to their hulls had done more than interfere with shields. It had mapped their entire propulsion system and transmitted the data to Earth-human ground-based weapons. Hastily modified with this knowledge, fired concentrated beams that targeted the specific wavelength of the aliens' engines. The retreat turned into chaos as Dominion ships found themselves unable to escape Earth's gravity well. Vex realized with growing dread that he had walked into a trap. Earth hadn't been an easy target, it had been bait, and he had taken it. Asterisk humanity. Unleashed, trapped in Earth's orbit with damaged ships and demoralized forces. Commander Vex did something no Dominion commander had ever done. He requested negotiations. But humanity's response surprised him once again. Instead of a single leader, Vex found himself facing a council of representatives from every nation on Earth. They had set up the communication in the United Nations building, its damaged walls. Hastily repaired, the message was clear. Humanity spoke as one. Commander Vex, President Walker began, you came here thinking you could enslave us. You've learned that was a mistake. But we're going to offer you something your empire has never given others a choice. Vex's 4 eyes narrowed. What choice? Surrender now, and we'll allow you and your surviving forces to leave peacefully. Continue fighting, and we'll show you what humanity is truly capable of. The commander laughed, though it sounded forced. You've had one lucky day. My empire spans 1,000 worlds. Even if you defeat this fleet, more will come. An elderly Japanese scientist, Professor Tanaka, stepped forward. Commander, in the past 24 hours, we've advanced our technology by approximately 200 years. Your invasion didn't weaken us, it accelerated our development. Do you really want to see what we can do with a week? To prove their point, the humans did something that shook Vex to his core. They showed him footage from inside his own command ship. The smart dust had evolved, becoming microscopic cameras that had infiltrated every corner of the Dominion fleet. "We know your shield frequencies, your weapon specifications, your engine designs," General Thompson said calmly. "We know the location of your homeworld from your navigation computers. We even know your biology from the soldiers we've captured. Your advantage is gone." But Vex, prideful and bound by Dominion military doctrine that saw retreat as worse than death, refused. "The Dominion does not surrender to primitives." "Then you've chosen," Walker said sadly. "Remember, we offered peace. What followed would be remembered in galactic history as the day humanity announced itself as a force to be reckoned with. Earth's forces launched Operation Reversal, a plan so audacious that even many humans thought it was impossible. Using the captured alien technology and their new understanding of faster-than-light communication, humans did something unprecedented. They hacked into the Dominion's empire-wide network and broadcast a message to all 1,000 conquered worlds simultaneously. The message was simple: the Dominion can be defeated. Earth stands free. Rise up. Across the galaxy, enslaved species saw something they had never seen before: footage of Dominion forces in retreat, their advanced ships burning in space, their soldiers surrendering to a supposedly primitive species. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating, but humanity wasn't done. They had discovered something in the alien computers: the locations of Dominion supply bases, the roots of their trade networks, and most importantly, the fear that held their empire together. The Dominion ruled through the myth of invincibility. Earth had shattered that myth. Young Tom, the hacker who had created the virus, had been working on something new with a team of international programmers. "If their empire works on quantum entanglement communication," he explained to the military leaders, "then we can use that against them. Every order from their homeworld, every military command, we can intercept and change it." It was electronic warfare on a galactic scale. Dominion fleets received orders to return home that hadn't come from their leadership. Supply shipments were redirected to empty space. The Empire's entire infrastructure began to collapse, not from external attack, but from internal confusion. Meanwhile, the battle in Earth's orbit reached its climax. Humanity unveiled weapons that shouldn't have existed: railguns that fired projectiles at percentages of light speed, bombs that created miniature black holes, and fighters that could phase in and out of dimensional space, a technology derived from studying the aliens' faster-than-light drives. Asterisk. Commander Vex watched his fleet being systematically destroyed. But worse than the military defeat was the knowledge that Earth was broadcasting it all to the galaxy. Every Dominion loss was seen by trillions of beings across thousands of worlds. "Commander," Officer Krill said urgently, "we're receiving reports of uprisings on 17 conquered worlds. They're using tactics similar to Earth's. The humans are sharing their technology and strategies." Vex felt something he had never experienced: despair. How? They've only had space technology for days. The answer came from an unexpected source. Amy, the teenager who had talked with her grandfather, had become part of Earth's psychological warfare team. Her voice broadcast to the Dominion fleet. "You want to know how we did this? It's simple. You unite people by conquering them. We unite by inspiring them. You rule through fear. We lead through hope. Your empire was always fragile. It just took humans to show everyone how fragile it was." As his command ship shook from another impact, Vex realized the fundamental truth. The Dominion had conquered bodies and worlds, but they had never conquered spirits. Humans hadn't just fought back. They had awakened something in every oppressed species in the galaxy: the belief that freedom was possible. Asterisk. The new galaxy 3 months after first contact, the galaxy had changed forever. Commander Vex stood in chains before the Galactic Council, a new organization that Earth had helped establish. Representatives from hundreds of freed worlds, had gathered on a neutral space station to decide the fate of the Dominion leadership. Once again, humanity surprised everyone. "We don't seek revenge," President Walker addressed the assembly. "We seek justice and peace. The Dominion Empire is finished, but the species that comprised it doesn't have to be enemies forever." The council voted to dismantle the Dominion military, but allowed their civilian population to retain their worlds under strict monitoring. It was more mercy than the Dominion had ever shown, and it set the tone for the new galactic order. Earth became known not as conquerors, but as liberators. The technology they had developed during the invasion, the hybrid of human innovation and alien advancement, was shared freely with all freed worlds. Species that had been enslaved for centuries suddenly found themselves with the means to defend themselves. Professor Tanaka led Earth's new Space Technology Institute, where beings from across the galaxy came to study. "Humans have a saying," he told his multi-species students. "Necessity is the mother of invention. The Dominion gave us the greatest necessity, survival, and look what we invented." The classroom held examples of humanity's rapid advancement. Weapons that had been conceptualized and built in hours, ships that combined technologies in ways no one had thought possible, and defensive systems that turned attackers' strengths against them. But perhaps the most significant change was in humanity itself. The invasion had united Earth in a way nothing else could have. Old enemies became allies. Resources that had been hoarded were shared. The planet that had been divided by borders, religions, and ideologies had discovered something more powerful there. Tom, the young hacker, now served as Earth's first galactic communications director. He had helped establish a quantum network that connected all free worlds, allowing instant communication and cooperation across the galaxy. "The Dominion connected worlds through control," he explained. "We connect them through choice." The defeated Commander Vex, now serving his sentence by teaching other species about Dominion technology, ironically learning that cooperation achieved more than conquest ever had, often reflected on his failure. He had made the classic mistake of judging humanity by their tools rather than their spirit. "What I failed to understand," he wrote in his memoirs, which became required reading in military academies across the galaxy, was that humans' greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their refusal to accept defeat. They had a word for it: stubborn. I learned too late that human stubbornness could reshape reality itself. Earth's influence spread peacefully through the galaxy. Human merchants traded not just goods, but ideas. Human diplomats resolved conflicts by finding common ground that others couldn't see. Human scientists collaborated with alien researchers, combining different ways of thinking to solve problems that had puzzled civilizations for millennia. The hybrid fighters that Maria Rodriguez had led became the template for a new galactic defense force, one that protected rather than conquered. She now served as its first admiral, teaching pilots from 100 worlds how to think outside their species' limitations. Humans taught the galaxy something important, she told her graduating class of multi-species pilots. "We taught them that diversity isn't weakness, it's strength. Every species brings something unique. Combine those unique traits, and you get something stronger than any single species could achieve." 5 years after the invasion, Earth hosted the first Galactic Peace Summit. Representatives from over 3,000 worlds attended, including some former Dominion officers who had embraced the new order. The summit was held in multiple cities across Earth, showing the visitors humanity's recovered and improved world. Amy, now a young woman and Earth's youngest ambassador, gave the closing speech. "The Dominion came to Earth thinking they could control us. They thought our divisions made us weak, our conflicts made us easy prey, our primitive technology made us helpless. They were wrong on all counts. But we don't celebrate their defeat. We celebrate what came after. A galaxy where species work together, not because they're forced to, but because they choose to. A galaxy where diversity is celebrated, not suppressed. A galaxy where even the smallest world has a voice. She paused, looking at the assembled beings, some with scales, some with fur, some with forms humans could barely comprehend. The Dominion thought they could control humans. They learned the hard way that humans can't be controlled. But more importantly, they learned that humans don't want to control others. We want to inspire them. We want to work with them. We want to explore the stars together as equals. The summit ended with the signing of the Universal Freedom Charter, a document that guaranteed the sovereignty of all worlds and species. Earth didn't seek to lead the new galactic order. They simply ensured that no single power could ever again dominate the others. Commander Vex, watching from his rehabilitation center, felt something he had never experienced in his century of military service. Hope. The humans hadn't just defeated the Dominion. They had shown the galaxy a better way. As Earth's first colony ship prepared to launch, not to conquer, but to explore and establish peaceful contact with undiscovered civilizations, humanity's message was clear. The galaxy thought it could control humans, but humans showed the galaxy how to control its own destiny. The stars were no longer a battlefield. Thanks to humanity's stubborn refusal to surrender, they had become a community. And in the end, that was humanity's greatest victory, not winning a war, but winning the peace that followed. Epilogue. 1 year later, in a small cafe on Earth, Commander Vex, now simply called Vex, his military rank stripped away, sat across from Amy, sharing what humans called coffee, and what he had learned was conversation without purpose, something the Dominion had never understood. "Do you regret coming to Earth?" Amy asked. Vex's 4 eyes looked at the bustling street outside, where humans and aliens walked together, worked together, laughed together. "I regret how I came," he said slowly. "But not that I came. The Dominion spent 1,000 years teaching the galaxy about power. Humans taught us something more important in just 1 day. They taught us about potential. The potential of working together, rather than forcing others to work for you." Amy smiled. "Grandpa always said humans were stubborn. Turns out, we're also pretty good teachers." "The best teachers," Vex agreed, "are those who teach by example. And humanity's example has changed the galaxy forever." As they finished their coffee, a news broadcast showed the latest achievement. A joint Human Dominion Coalition science team had discovered a way to travel between galaxies. The project leader was a young Dominion scientist who had been inspired by humanity's rapid technological advancement during the invasion. The galaxy hadn't just learned that humans couldn't be controlled. It had learned that when humans were free, when any species was free, there were no limits to what they could achieve. The invasion that was meant to subjugate Earth had instead liberated the entire galaxy. And that, perhaps, was the most human outcome of all, turning certain defeat into unexpected victory, and then sharing that victory with everyone, even their former enemies. The galaxy thought it could control humans. It learned the hard way that humans would rather die free than live as slaves. But more importantly, it learned that humans would rather see everyone free than rule over anyone. And that lesson changed everything.